My friend, let's be honest. Life doesn't always reward the kind, the emotional, or the caring. Sometimes, life rewards the ones who can stay calm when the world tries to break them. There comes a time in every man's life when he gets tired. Not physically, but emotionally. He gets tired of giving too much, trusting too easily, caring too deeply, and expecting too much from people who never cared in return. That's the moment when something changes inside him. He doesn't smile the same way anymore. He doesn't react to pain like before. He doesn't beg for love or attention. That's when he starts to become cold. But listen carefully. Being cold doesn't mean being cruel. It means being in control. It means learning to think instead of just feel. It means building strength where others collapse. This transformation, from being emotional to being cold-hearted and strong, is not about losing your humanity. It's about finding your power. So today, let's go deep into this transformation. Let's understand how a man becomes cold-hearted and strong, not out of hate, but out of wisdom. Because sometimes, the only way to survive in a cruel world is to stop letting it control your emotions. 1. Pain is the teacher that freezes your heart. Every strong man you see today once had a soft heart. He once believed that goodness always wins, that love always returns, and that loyalty always matters. He believed that if he gave his best to people, they would do the same for him. But life doesn't work that way. Life doesn't reward pure hearts. It tests them. It pushes them, breaks them, and molds them into something unshakable. At first, you try to be kind. You try to be the one who forgives, who understands, who stays patient even when others are unfair. You give your best, your time, your trust, your effort, your energy. You stay loyal when others are doubtful. You keep your word even when no one else keeps theirs. You sacrifice your comfort to make others happy. You think that love, honesty, and goodness will be enough to protect you. But then the truth hits you. What do you get in return? Betrayal, rejection, disrespect. People take advantage of your softness. They mistake your kindness for weakness. They use your loyalty as a weapon against you. You start asking yourself, why do people hurt me when I never hurt them? You can't understand it. It doesn't make sense. You replay everything in your head, wondering where you went wrong. You think maybe the problem is you. Maybe you didn't love enough. Maybe you weren't good enough. Maybe you didn't try hard enough. So you give more. You forgive one more time. You help one more time. You trust one more time. But nothing changes. People keep taking. People keep lying. People keep disappointing. And then one day, something inside you breaks. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. There's no explosion, no tears left, no big moment. Just silence. It's the kind of silence that changes you forever. That's the moment your heart begins to freeze. Not in a cruel way, but in a protective way. You stop expecting people to be like you. You stop waiting for them to understand your intentions. You stop hoping that if you give more, they'll finally value you. That's the day you realize pain isn't your enemy. Pain is your teacher. It's the most honest teacher you'll ever have. It doesn't lie. It doesn't sugarcoat. It shows you reality, raw, unfiltered, and uncomfortable. Pain teaches you lessons that comfort never will. Pain teaches you who to trust and who to let go of. It teaches you to value silence over useless explanations. It shows you that not everyone deserves access to your heart. It teaches you that love is not about giving endlessly. It's about giving wisely. Pain makes you mature. It forces you to see the truth about people and about yourself. You begin to understand that the world doesn't care about your emotions. It doesn't stop spinning because you're hurt. People don't pause their lives to check if you're okay. Life goes on. And you realize that if you don't protect yourself, no one else will. That's when your mindset starts to change. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop begging for love from those who don't value it. You stop chasing people who keep walking away. Instead, you turn inward. You start building walls, not to keep everyone out, but to keep your peace in. Those walls become your strength. They are not made of bitterness, but of lessons. They remind you that not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. They remind you that love without respect is poison. They remind you that sometimes you have to walk alone to find clarity. This is the first stage of becoming cold, the awakening through pain. It's when you realize that emotions alone can't save you. You must balance your heart with your mind. You must protect your peace as much as you protect your dreams. Pain may have broken you once, but it also rebuilt you into someone wiser. Someone who no longer gives everything to everyone. Someone who doesn't chase what's not meant for him. Someone who has learned that peace is more valuable than people's approval. That's how pain freezes your heart. Not to destroy it, but to reshape it. It doesn't turn you into stone. It turns you into steel. It doesn't remove your emotions. It refines them. You learn to love without losing yourself. You learn to care without being careless. You learn to give without being drained. So the next time pain visits you, don't curse it. Respect it. Because that pain is not a punishment. It's preparation. It's turning you into someone who cannot be easily shaken again. It's teaching you to survive, to grow, and to rise above. That's how every strong man is made. Not by comfort, but by pain. And that's how your transformation begins. When you finally understand that pain was never there to break you. It was there to wake you up. 2. Control your emotions. Don't let emotions control you. My friend, one of the greatest powers you can ever develop in life is emotional control. Most people think strength comes from muscles, money, or confidence. But the truth is, real power comes from a calm mind. When you can stay peaceful while others try to provoke you. When you can think clearly in chaos. When you can stay silent when others shout. That's when you've mastered yourself. When you're emotional, people can easily control you. They know your weak spots. They know which words to say, which buttons to press, and which actions can make you lose your peace. They can make you angry, sad, jealous, or desperate in seconds. That's why so many people get trapped in arguments, in drama, in situations that destroy their focus, because they haven't learned to control their emotions. But when you become cold, everything changes. You stop reacting immediately. You stop letting every insult, rejection, or problem disturb your inner world. You learn to pause before you respond. You observe instead of exploding. You think instead of reacting. That's when your emotional power starts to grow. Someone insults you? You don't waste your energy arguing. You smile and walk away. You know that reacting gives them power, but silence keeps the power in your hands. Someone betrays you? You don't seek revenge or cry for attention. You simply distance yourself, quietly, respectfully, permanently. Someone doubts your potential. You don't defend yourself with words. You prove them wrong through results. This is emotional mastery, the art of staying calm when others lose control. The calm man is always the strongest in the room. When others panic, he stays centered. When others shout, he speaks softly. When others fight for attention, he focuses on purpose. Because he knows that silence speaks louder than anger, and peace lasts longer than pride. To become cold is not about killing your emotions. It's about training them. It's about learning to feel everything but act on nothing until your mind is clear. It means being self-disciplined enough not to let temporary emotions destroy permanent goals. You stop posting about your pain online because you no longer need sympathy. You're building strength. You stop chasing people for closure because you understand that not everyone has the maturity to face truth. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Because their goal isn't to understand, it's to control. When you start practicing this kind of discipline, life begins to shift. The noise around you loses its power. The opinions of others stop affecting your peace. You begin to notice how much energy you used to waste trying to defend yourself, trying to be understood, trying to prove your worth. And suddenly, you feel lighter, freer, stronger. You realize that most people are emotional slaves. They live based on how they feel. If they feel lazy, they stop working. If they feel angry, they shout. If they feel sad, they quit. But not you. You start to understand that feelings are just visitors. They come and go. You don't have to obey them. You can observe them, learn from them, and let them pass. This is what separates the strong from the weak, the ability to act with logic, not emotion. A strong man doesn't let his mood decide his behavior. He keeps doing what must be done, even when he doesn't feel like it. He knows that emotional stability creates mental clarity, and mental clarity builds success. When your emotions are under control, you become unpredictable. No one knows how to break you because you can't be manipulated through anger or sadness. You become calm like water, still on the surface, but powerful underneath. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop chasing outcomes and start trusting your process. People who once tried to hurt you will get confused because their tricks no longer work. You've become too centered, too focused, too self-aware. You've reached a level where peace becomes your weapon. When others expect you to explode, you simply smile and walk away. That's real power. Remember this. Emotions are meant to be felt, not followed. Feel them, but don't let them drive your actions. When you learn to separate how you feel from what you do, you unlock an incredible strength. You become calm in chaos, patient under pressure, and fearless in uncertainty. That's the power of becoming cold. Not emotionless, but emotionally indestructible. Because once you control your emotions, no one can control you. And that's when your transformation truly begins. 3. Cold doesn't mean heartless. It means focused. My friend, let's clear one of the biggest myths about becoming cold. Many people think that when a man becomes cold, he has lost his heart, his compassion, or his ability to love. They believe that coldness is the same as hatred, bitterness, or cruelty. But that is far from the truth. Being cold doesn't mean you hate people, nor does it mean that you no longer care about the world around you. Being cold means that you have learned to be selective. Selective about who deserves your energy, your trust, and your emotions. A cold man no longer pours his heart into everyone. He understands that not everyone deserves his time, not everyone deserves his trust, and not everyone deserves his attention. He stops giving to people who drain him, people who take without giving, and people who thrive on creating chaos in his life. He stops wasting energy on drama, on arguments, on temporary relationships, and on people who cannot see his value. Instead, he learns to focus on what truly matters: his growth, his goals, and his inner peace. When you become cold, your focus becomes razor sharp. Your mind no longer wanders into things that don't serve your purpose. You stop reacting to every little insult or setback. You stop being distracted by fake friends, meaningless debates, or temporary emotions. You begin to think long-term. You start to plan your moves with intention. You no longer live day by day reacting to what comes to you. You start to live life on your own terms, making every decision with purpose. Most people lose their way because they are too busy reacting to life. They spend their energy worrying about what others think, getting upset about small mistakes, and trying to control things they cannot. But a cold man doesn't react. He calculates. He observes quietly. He waits patiently. He moves with strategy. He knows when to act and when to remain still. His silence is not weakness. It is his power. A cold man doesn't seek revenge. He doesn't waste time trying to hurt those who hurt him. Instead, he focuses on himself, and his success becomes his answer. When he rises, when he achieves, when he excels, that is the revenge. Not through anger, but through results. He doesn't need validation from others because he has learned to validate himself. He doesn't beg to be understood because he is too busy understanding himself. He doesn't chase attention, love, or approval because he knows his purpose is greater than the need for recognition. That is the beauty of being cold. It is a form of clarity. It allows you to stop running after people and start running after purpose. It allows you to stop seeking approval and start creating results. It allows you to stop reacting to the world and start controlling your own life. The world may call you heartless, but they cannot see the journey it took to reach this state. They don't know how many nights you spent crying, feeling lost, or disappointed. They don't know how many times you gave your love and trust only to be hurt in return. They don't know the weight of all the lessons you've learned, the pain you've endured, or the strength you've built quietly inside. You became cold not because you stopped caring. You became cold because you finally learned to care for yourself. You learned that your energy is precious, that your peace is sacred, and that your life is too short to waste on people who do not deserve your presence. Coldness is not about bitterness or hate. It is about focus, discipline, and self-respect. It is about understanding that your growth, your goals, and your happiness are your priority, and nothing should distract you from them. When you realize this truth, everything changes. You stop reacting to distractions. You stop being pulled into unnecessary conflicts. You stop giving your attention to those who cannot appreciate it. You focus entirely on your vision, your purpose, and your life. And that is the ultimate power of being cold. Not emotionless, but emotionally intelligent, purposeful, and unshakably focused. Becoming cold doesn't make you heartless. It makes you powerful, disciplined, and unstoppable. It makes you someone who can survive the storms of life, someone who can stand tall when others fall, and someone who finally understands the value of self-love and personal strength. 4. Learn the power of detachment. My friend, detachment is one of the most misunderstood concepts in life. Many people think detachment means becoming distant, cold, or uncaring. But the truth is, detachment is the final stage of emotional evolution. It is the point where you no longer allow anything outside of you. No person, no situation, no failure, no praise. To control what's inside you. When you master detachment, your inner world remains calm, steady, and unshakable, no matter how chaotic life becomes. When you are truly detached, you learn a powerful truth. You don't need to fight to keep things that are not meant for you. You don't chase what constantly slips through your fingers. You don't beg for love, respect, or validation. Instead, you let go. You attract what belongs in your life naturally, without force or desperation. You decide what you will allow into your mind, your heart, and your energy, and you make those decisions intentionally. Detachment teaches you to see the temporary nature of life. Money, fame, power, relationships, and even people. None of these things are permanent. And that's okay. Because what truly matters is not what surrounds you, but what resides within you. Your inner strength, your peace, and your sense of self-worth. When you depend on external things to define you, you will always feel weak, anxious, and uncertain. But when your sense of value comes from within, no outside force can shake you. Detachment does not mean that you stop loving. On the contrary, it allows you to love more clearly, more deeply, and more freely. It means you can care for others without losing yourself. You can give your time, energy, and affection without expecting anything in return. You can walk away from anything that no longer grows you, whether it is a relationship, a habit, or a toxic environment, without guilt, regret, or fear. When you are attached, you are weak. You beg for things to stay. You fear losing people or situations. You compromise your values and your peace just to keep others happy. You try to control what you cannot control, and in doing so, you lose your power. But detachment frees you from all of this. It gives you the ability to love without obsession, care without fear, and give without expectation. It makes you emotionally independent, which is one of the strongest forms of strength a person can have. A cold man understands this principle deeply. He does not cling to people, money, or status. He adapts. He does not see endings as failures. He sees them as redirections. When life closes a door, he does not ask, "Why me?" He says, "Try me." He understands that letting go is not weakness. It is the ultimate demonstration of courage, intelligence, and self-respect. Detachment also gives you clarity. When you are not emotionally dependent, you can make decisions without bias, without fear, and without being clouded by temporary emotions. You see situations as they are, not as you wish they would be. You act from wisdom instead of panic, from purpose instead of desperation. You remain calm even when everything around you is falling apart. That calmness becomes your greatest weapon because it allows you to act with precision, strategy, and confidence. The power of detachment is that it allows you to live fully in the present while remaining strong for the future. You stop obsessing over things you cannot change. You stop fearing loss. You stop clinging to people who do not belong in your life. And in doing so, you create a space where growth, clarity, and strength can flourish. Ultimately, detachment is not about being cold or heartless. It is about being emotionally free, mentally strong, and spiritually wise. It allows you to live without fear, to love without limitation, and to move through life with unstoppable calm and power. When you master detachment, you are no longer at the mercy of the world. You are in control of yourself. And that, my friend, is the true essence of a cold, strong, and unshakable man. 5. Turn coldness into strength, not bitterness. My friend, here is a truth that most people fail to understand. Not everyone who becomes cold ends up strong. Many people let life's pain harden their hearts, but instead of gaining wisdom, they become bitter, angry, and resentful. Their coldness is born from wounds, from hatred, or from revenge, and it only destroys them from the inside out. But the truly strong man, the man who learns from pain, uses coldness differently. He becomes disciplined, focused, and unstoppable. He turns his coldness into a tool for growth, not a weapon of bitterness. Your coldness must come from wisdom, not from your wounds. Don't allow hurt to poison your heart. Don't let betrayal make you cruel. Instead, choose to become cold because you value your peace, because you refuse to let the chaos of the world control your mind or emotions. Don't shut down to punish others. Shut down to protect yourself. Protect your energy, protect your time, and protect your focus. When you do this, you become untouchable in the ways that truly matter. Use your pain as fuel. Let it ignite your determination rather than your anger. Let it motivate you to rise higher, to work harder, to move faster, and to think smarter. Let your silence speak louder than your anger. When others try to provoke you, don't respond with words. Respond with your results. Let your success, your growth, and your self-discipline become the ultimate statement. Let your progress become your revenge. Quiet, undeniable, and powerful. Being cold doesn't mean being rude, reckless, or harsh. It means being polite, but not a fool. It means being kind, but not used. It means being calm, but not silent when action is required. True strength is subtle. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't rely on drama. It's powerful in presence and quiet in action. A cold man doesn't seek attention to prove his power. He demonstrates it naturally through what he accomplishes and how he carries himself. The cold-hearted man stops chasing approval. He doesn't need anyone to tell him he's enough, because he already knows it. Instead of seeking comfort, he seeks growth. He understands that challenges, failures, and difficulties are not obstacles. They are opportunities. He doesn't fear being alone because he has learned to be self-sufficient. When people leave, he doesn't beg. When life hurts, he doesn't complain. He accepts the reality of situations, adapts to circumstances, and moves forward with purpose. Being cold in this way allows you to channel your energy into what truly matters: excellence, discipline, and personal growth. You stop wasting time on meaningless arguments, toxic relationships, or unnecessary drama. You stop letting emotions like anger or resentment cloud your judgment. You start acting strategically, responding with wisdom, and building a life that others will notice not because of loudness, but because of results. A strong man knows one unshakable truth: pain is temporary, but strength is forever. Every setback, every betrayal, every disappointment is just a stepping stone. It's a lesson designed to make you stronger, sharper, and more resilient. You take the hurt and transform it into power. You take the loss and transform it into wisdom. You take the silence and transform it into focus. That is what it means to turn coldness into strength, not bitterness. It's about using life's challenges to refine your character, strengthen your mind, and protect your heart. It's about choosing calm over chaos, growth over revenge, and wisdom over emotion. The man who achieves this doesn't just survive, he thrives. He doesn't just endure, he conquers. He doesn't just exist, he becomes unstoppable. Remember, my friend, being cold is not a punishment. It is a choice. A choice to prioritize your peace, your growth, and your strength above all else. And when you live like this, when your coldness comes from wisdom rather than wounds, you will find that nothing in this world can shake you, because you are no longer a product of circumstances. You are a master of yourself. 6. Silence is the language of power. My friend, one of the most misunderstood powers in life is silence. People think strength comes from speaking loudly, proving yourself, or constantly defending your actions. But the truth is, real power often lives in the quiet, in the unseen, and in the unspoken. When you truly become cold, when you have learned to control your emotions, focus your energy, and detach from what does not serve you, you naturally speak less and observe more. You stop trying to impress others, to explain yourself, or to argue your worth. You learn that silence is not emptiness. It is presence. In silence, you begin to see things that others miss. You notice patterns in behavior that others overlook. You understand the motives behind words, the intentions behind actions, and the consequences that will follow. You start recognizing truths that cannot be hidden by a smile or a lie. While the world is busy shouting, reacting, and over-explaining, you are watching, analyzing, and learning. Silence allows you to gather insight that no conversation could ever reveal. It becomes your secret weapon. Silence confuses your enemies. When people are used to reactions, to anger, to explanations, your calm and quiet demeanor makes them unsure. They try to provoke you, to push you, or to manipulate you, but they fail. Your silence is impenetrable. It protects you. It guards your energy. And it strengthens your focus. Every word you do not waste on meaningless arguments is a word that preserves your power, your clarity, and your peace. You stop explaining yourself because you finally realize that most people only hear what they want to hear. Your truth does not need approval, and your integrity does not need validation. When you speak less, you reveal less, and you protect more. You stop giving away the map to your mind, your heart, or your goals. You become unpredictable, calculated, and unshakable. Silence turns into strategy, and strategy turns into results. In silence, you grow. Without constant distraction, without the need to react to every situation, your mind becomes sharper. You reflect on your actions, plan your next moves, and measure your progress. In silence, you heal. You let your wounds close, your pain fade, and your inner strength build quietly but surely. You let your emotions settle, your thoughts organize, and your energy recharge. Silence becomes a sanctuary where the cold and strong man fortifies himself for life's challenges. In silence, you also plan. Every decision, every step, and every action is calculated. You no longer rush to respond or react impulsively. You wait for the perfect timing. You move only when it matters. You conserve your energy for what will actually create results. And when the time comes, your actions speak so loudly that no words are necessary. You don't need to explain your success or justify your choices. The outcomes you produce become your voice, louder and clearer than anything you could say. This is the mindset of a cold and strong man, a man who does not waste words, but builds worlds. A man who understands that the less he talks, the more he observes. The more he observes, the wiser he becomes. The wiser he becomes, the stronger he becomes. And the stronger he becomes, the more unstoppable he becomes. Silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a demonstration of control, discipline, and intelligence. It is the language of power that the world often fails to recognize, but those who understand it cannot ignore. When you embrace silence, you become untouchable in ways that anger, noise, and chaos cannot achieve. People may try to test you, provoke you, or misunderstand you. But your calmness, your focus, and your quiet strength make you untouchable. You move through life like a force that cannot be disrupted, observing, learning, and acting at the perfect moment. Your silence becomes your shield and your strategy, your armor and your advantage. Remember this: words can persuade, but silence convinces. Noise can distract, but silence clarifies. Chaos can confuse, but silence reveals. A cold man does not need to shout. His world is built in quiet, his power is felt in calm, and his influence is undeniable. Silence is not empty. It is the language of power, and mastery of it transforms a man from ordinary into unstoppable. 7. Discipline is the core of cold strength. My friend, many people misunderstand what it means to be cold. They think being cold is about shutting off your emotions, becoming unfeeling, or avoiding connections. But that is only a surface-level misconception. True coldness, the kind that builds strength, resilience, and unshakable focus, comes from discipline, not emotionlessness. Discipline is the core, the foundation, and the engine that powers the cold and strong man. Without it, coldness can easily turn into weakness, bitterness, or stagnation. A disciplined man wakes up early, long before the world stirs. He doesn't need an alarm of urgency or the pressure of deadlines to force action. He rises because he understands that time is precious, that each day is an opportunity to build himself, and that consistent effort beats fleeting motivation every single time. While others sleep, complain, or procrastinate, he trains his body, sharpens his mind, and strengthens his spirit. Every moment becomes a building block. carefully placed to construct the future he desires. Discipline is not just about action. It's about control. A cold man controls his habits, his urges, and his words. He resists the temptation to indulge in distractions, anger, or comfort that hinders progress. He understands that emotions are fleeting, but the habits he builds will define his destiny. Motivation comes and goes like the wind, unpredictable and unreliable. Discipline, however, is consistent, unfailing, and unshakable. It allows him to act even when he doesn't feel ready, even when the world seems dark, and even when his energy wanes. He does not wait for external validation or support. He becomes his own source of encouragement. He doesn't seek approval because he knows that true strength comes from within. Loneliness does not intimidate him. He uses it to sharpen his mind, to reflect, to strategize, and to cultivate mental toughness. Pain does not stop him. He trains through it, grows from it, and allows it to refine his character. Every obstacle, every difficulty, and every challenge becomes a tool for growth rather than a reason to quit. A cold man understands that discipline transforms life. When you master discipline, emotions lose their power over you. Anger no longer dictates your actions. Fear no longer halts your progress, and temptation no longer leads you astray. You no longer react impulsively. You act deliberately. You no longer chase fleeting feelings. You follow your purpose with unwavering consistency. You become the master of your mind, not its prisoner. Discipline also teaches patience. A cold man does not seek immediate results or short-term gratification. He understands that meaningful growth requires time, effort, and persistence. He's willing to endure discomfort, delay pleasure, and face challenges head-on. Because he knows that discipline compounds like interest over time. Every small choice, waking up early, resisting temptation, completing a task without complaint, strengthens him further. Every day he becomes more resilient, more focused, and more unstoppable. Discipline is the silent power that underpins coldness. It allows a man to remain calm under pressure, focused in chaos, and consistent when everything around him is unpredictable. Without discipline, coldness can become empty rigidity or bitterness. But with discipline, it becomes strength. Strength that is quiet, formidable, and enduring. Remember, my friend, emotions are temporary. Motivation comes and goes. But discipline defines your destiny. It turns ordinary men into cold, strong men who cannot be shaken by circumstances, manipulated by others, or weakened by temporary feelings. It makes you self-reliant, unstoppable, and focused on the life you are meant to build. This is the core of cold strength. Not absence of feeling, but mastery over it. A disciplined man doesn't need to shout, prove, or defend. He acts, he builds, he grows, and because of his discipline, he becomes unbreakable, unshakable, and unstoppable in every aspect of life. 8. The Calm Warrior. My friend, when you reach the final stage of becoming cold, you realize something profound. You no longer feel the same kind of coldness you once did. That harsh, protective frost that hardened your heart slowly melts into something deeper, stronger, and far more powerful. You don't feel cold anymore. You feel calm. You feel centered. You feel in control. You feel like a warrior, but a warrior who doesn't need to prove his strength to anyone. You simply are. At this stage, The trivialities that once provoked you no longer matter. Insults, betrayals, minor failures, or the opinions of others no longer disturb your inner peace. You don't react impulsively. You don't argue over meaningless things. You don't chase approval or validation because you know your worth doesn't come from others. You don't fear loss because you have learned that what belongs to you will find its way back, and what doesn't is not meant to stay. You have reached a level of self-mastery where external forces have no power over your emotions or your decisions. You become a calm warrior, silent, focused, and unshakable. You understand that power doesn't need to be loud, and control doesn't require chaos. Peace becomes your weapon, and calmness becomes your strategy. When others act in anger, confusion, or fear, you remain composed. When the world tries to shake you, you stand firm, knowing that your strength comes from mastery over yourself rather than dominance over others. Real confidence does not shout. It moves silently. Real strength does not boast. It acts intentionally. As you look back, you realize that becoming cold was never about losing your emotions. It was about finding balance. It was about learning to respond instead of reacting. It was about understanding that emotions are tools, not masters. It was about growing through pain, learning from betrayal, and turning hardship into fuel for progress. The man who was once soft, vulnerable, and easily hurt has now transformed into someone unbreakable, not hardened by hatred, but refined by experience. The calm warrior walks through life differently. He does not seek attention, but he naturally commands it. He does not need to prove himself because his actions, results, and presence speak for him. He has direction, purpose, and clarity, which gives him an aura that others cannot replicate. He trusts himself more than anyone else, knowing that his decisions are informed by wisdom, discipline, and experience rather than fleeting emotions. At this stage, you no longer envy, no longer compete for approval, and no longer allow temporary discomfort to dictate your behavior. You understand the value of patience, the power of silence, and the importance of focus. You know that revenge is petty, words are often empty, and drama is a waste of energy. Instead, you channel all of your energy into what matters: growth, mastery, and fulfillment. You measure success not by attention received, but by progress made and obstacles overcome. Becoming a calm warrior also means understanding the impermanence of life. You accept loss without bitterness. You embrace endings without fear. You step into challenges without hesitation. You have learned that pain is temporary, obstacles are lessons, and self-mastery is eternal. Your calmness is not passivity. It is purposeful stillness, a quiet force that moves mountains and influences the world without loud declarations. The transformation from a man who was once broken to one who is unshakable is profound. You carry the scars of the past, but they no longer define you. They empower you. Every setback you endured, every betrayal you survived, and every disappointment you faced contributed to the warrior you have become. You now understand that strength is not loud, attention-seeking, or superficial. True strength is quiet, consistent, and unyielding. When you have reached this level, you have achieved what most people never will. You have turned coldness into wisdom, power, and exceptional balance. You no longer allow emotions to control your actions, but neither do you suppress them. You are guided by clarity, focus, and purpose. You are no longer ordinary, reactive, or fragile. You are exceptional. This is the final truth of becoming cold the right way. It is not about losing yourself. It is about finding yourself. It is not about shutting off your heart. It is about strengthening it. It is not about hating the world. It is about mastering it. And most importantly, mastering yourself. You have walked the path of pain, discipline, silence, detachment, and focus, and you have emerged as a calm, confident, and unshakable warrior. You are no longer just surviving life. You are commanding it. Final words. Cold is not weakness, it's wisdom. My friend, remember this. Becoming cold does not mean losing your heart. It does not mean turning into someone cruel, unfeeling, or bitter. True coldness is wisdom in action. It is the ability to protect your energy, guard your peace, and make choices that serve your growth rather than your ego. It is about understanding that your time, your focus, and your heart are valuable, and they should not be wasted on people who cannot appreciate them. Stop giving your energy to those who drain it. Stop explaining your worth to those who are incapable of seeing it. Stop living your life for the approval of others. You don't need to become harsh, just calm. You don't need to be rude, just real. You don't need to hate, just heal. True strength comes from composure, clarity, and discipline, not from loud words or fleeting emotions. The world will always test you again and again. But here is the truth. You no longer need to prove anything. Your silence, your focus, your consistent growth, and your disciplined actions speak louder than any argument or explanation ever could. At this point, my friend, you are no longer reacting impulsively. You are living powerfully. You rise above betrayal without begging. You rebuild after being broken without despair. You protect your heart after love has failed without closing it off. And this is where true strength lies, in your ability to control yourself rather than let the world control you. On my channel, English Achieve, we teach not just language, but lessons to grow stronger, wiser, and more focused in life. This is the kind of strength that transforms pain into wisdom and heartbreak into clarity. The man who has learned these lessons is not cold in weakness. He is cold in wisdom, measured in thought, disciplined in action, and calm in presence. He is not heartless. He is healed. He is not unfeeling. He is aware. And that, my friend, is how a man becomes cold-hearted and strong. Sometimes, silence is the loudest strength of all, and patience is the most powerful weapon you can carry. Embrace it, cultivate it, and let it define your life.